Well, welcome to another Corn Nation overreaction. And after this weekend's loss to Colorado, I don't know how much of this is going to be an overreaction, how much of this is going to be stone cold hard truths that this guy is going to have to admit to.
Yeah.
Let's dive into it. I'm Greg Mahochko. Over here is Haas Reuter. Haas, week 2, Nebraska goes to Folsom Field, Boulder, Colorado.
Yep.
And we were so excited for this matchup. There's a sea of red in Boulder, and we stepped on our dick.
We shut it in the door.
I mean, look.
Yeah.
We're just gonna get right out in front of this, folks. If you are a little squeamish about sailor talk, this is probably not going to be the show for you.
No, we're gonna use some 4-letter words as noun, verb, and adjective.
I'm the guy. If you're a regular Corn Nation viewer or listener, you know that I'm the guy who says 15-0. Nebraska is going to win it all. But that's, it's a little tongue-in-cheek, it's a little fun, but it's also that undying optimism that I have in my heart. Oh boy, positive Greg got kicked in the nuts this weekend, I'll tell you what.
I always have been known as somebody that I've defended just about every offensive coordinator that we've had at Nebraska, not named Mark Whipple. And I've also generally, some people might think that I treat quarterbacks with kid gloves, that I take it pretty easy on them. It's a tough position to play. But I'm just going to call a spade when it comes to our offense. And, it's the offensive scheme is not good. Its sequencing in terms of play calling is not good. And the quarterback, Matt Rule, hitched the cart to the wrong horse, plain and simple. And I hate to say it, but that was a common thread in his time in Carolina. He did the same thing where, it was Teddy Bridgewater in 2020, and then, they're trying to experiment with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and a whole litany of signal callers. And it's just for whatever reason, he's had trouble selecting the right quarterback. I'm not saying, fire Rule, because I like Matt Rule. I think he's the guy that's going to get it done. But I think that you can't fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy where, oh, well, this is our guy and we're going to stick with him and we're going to win with him. We're going to lose with him. I don't think that's appropriate when it's been 7 turnovers in 2 games. And you can't even execute very, very, very basic things, procedural aspects of the offense correctly.
That was all right. I'll address that, but we've seen, this is not the first time we've seen a head coach select a quarter horse, a quarterback, whatever cliche or analogy you want to make, and ride him all the way to the end of that coach's career.
Yeah.
It happened for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I guess 4 years, because, Casey Thompson came in last year, but look at Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez had, despite the injuries, had a serviceable career here, but was never good.
Well, you could say that every coach since Tom Osborne, they hitched their wagon to the wrong quarterback in a sense, or they got overly reliant. Frank gets overly reliant on Eric Crouch, and we don't recruit supporting cast around on the offense anymore. And when he graduates, we're kind of dead in the water. Beyond that, Bill Callahan goes with Sam Keller over Joe Gans. Bo Pelini hitched his wagon to Taylor Martinez. Mike Riley probably made a mistake. I know I've said it a lot that Tanner Lee was playing at a high level at the end of 2017, but the fact is he had a slow start. He got picked off a lot, and he put us in a hole to start the season. And that ultimately doomed us back then. So Mike Riley hitched his wagon to the wrong guy. Scott Frost, I'm not sure he knew how to evaluate quarterbacks correctly, because you look at the guys that he offered and the guys that played, it just it just didn't work, and so
there was an intellectual disconnect.
Yeah, an intellectual disconnect, and that seems to be a common theme over the past 25 years of Husker football: quarterbacks and turnovers, and picking the wrong quarterback. And so it's really disheartening to see somebody. I mean, it's just par for the course for Nebraska to bring in the leading turnover. I don't even know what the exact words would be. Let me rephrase that. But it's par for the course for Nebraska to bring in a transfer from the quarterback who leads the nation in turnovers over the course of their career.
And
to quote Denny Green, they are who we thought they were.
That's going to say at some point it's not a fluke. It's not the exception. It is the rule. Yeah. No pun intended.
Yeah.
And
R-U-L-E, not R-H-E.
Right. I saw, there was a graphic today before some of the many turnovers that said that Jeff Sims, with 34 turnovers, I think to that point, was the I guess I'll paraphrase what the graphic said, but it was like basically the least trustworthy quarterback in the Big Ten. Had more turnovers than any active quarterback in the Big Ten. I was like, and he's only been here 2 games.
I mean,
it's
what's the term in baseball? Bad pitcher that gets shelled, a gas can.
Sure.
Gas can, dumping gas on the fire. He's a gas can. He makes the situation worse. And again, this is purely football. I think that nobody is attacking anybody on a personal basis. It's just about football, because I know a lot of times everyone will always say, well, they're just kids. Well, it's like, kids. No, they're 18 and 22-year-old college age adults. They're making good NIL money. They're open to criticism,
And I don't know how rabid of a fan base Georgia Tech has. I'm sure they have some. It's probably not the first time Jeff Sims has seen some criticism online, given his track record. I'll say this, at some point I did tweet out from at the number 5 Heart podcast on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it's called now. I know what it's called. It's called X. It just feels like a weird thing to say. I feel like Elon Musk is going to start putting together a team of superpowered individuals and go fight Magneto or something. But I said I don't care. I don't care. Bring in Harburg, Purdy, but Sims is a liability.
Yep. And the fact that they didn't make a change, the fact that Rule doubled down
after halftime,
and wouldn't make a change, that is a point that bothers me from the standpoint of Anthony Grant fumbles, and we don't see Anthony Grant at all today.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. You're making a point. It's about accountability, in this program. But Ethan Piper has 3 false start penalties in first 2 games. He cost us, you could say, the game at Minnesota by that false start on the 1-yard line. So where's the accountability there? I'd rather reshuffle the deck and put Litovsky in at left guard, or reshuffle and put Turner Corcoran at left guard and Teddy Prohaska at left tackle. So where's the accountability there? Yeah, when he's healthy. So where's the accountability there? Because right now, it's showing the rest of the team that, hey, some people can make mistakes and other people can't.
Is it that I'm trying to ask this question diplomatically, because but you think it's that single digit advantage?
Maybe there's a little bit of a longer leash because you've done some things to earn their trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't call that preferential treatment. I would just say that, they've proven themselves, to have given the benefit of the doubt. But I mean, when you have a quarterback that can't fucking field the snap, and the snaps are good snaps.
And I saw the excuse come through about the crowd was throwing off the cadence and the motion and the guy running across
118 other quarterbacks every fucking Saturday execute it. You know, I know that you're not saying that, you know, but it's just as a retort, you know, like
No, yeah, no.
I'm fired up because, like, if you can't execute the small stuff, if you can't do the little things correctly, you're just killing yourself. You're not giving yourself a chance.
There,
You know?
there, and it wasn't just the, and I know you mentioned false starts, and it wasn't just the false starts, the fumbles, the bad snaps, and loose balls that hit the ground. On the defensive line was not as sharp this week as they were last week in Minnesota. You've been to games at Boulder.
Mhm.
Have you been to a game at Minnesota?
Yeah, in 2021.
Do your best, and maybe Boulder today with Coach Bram. I wasn't trying to like impersonate. I'm not trying to like, but the emphasis there
I ain't
being
hard
on.
to find.
But what's the? Tell me about the atmosphere. Like, if to the best of your ability, compare those two atmospheres. Would today in Boulder have been more insane of a crowd than just like a Big Ten West showdown?
Yeah, because you get those trustafarians from Southern California and Vermont who go to school at CU who don't give a flying fuck about football and CU football until it's a cool thing to do, and they do what college kids do. They go to football games, they get drunk, they get rowdy, and they charge the field when they beat a team that hasn't been to a bowl game since the Obama administration.
They charged the field with 1 second left on the clock too.
Yeah.
I saw. I'm like, come on now.
Yeah. So like Boulder's a more insane atmosphere, but you know what? It's an insane atmosphere because it's Nebraska that's in town.
Mm-hmm.
2, they're having a modicum of success, beating TCU, and then now they beat us. But here's the deal: that team 1-11 last year, and they're already flipping the script. I mean, talk about a fan base that could not be less deserving. Seriously. Well, we're over here in purgatory,
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. It just Boulder's it's always going to be a crazy atmosphere when Nebraska's in town. But
I just feel like there were. I'm not like, because I know some of the Twitter was like, oh, did you see that was like, no, it was just dumb mistakes, and I don't know, maybe this is some of the beef with opening up the season with a division opponent. I'm not against playing Colorado early, as a non-conference, but I don't know. Like, there's just so many things that we talked about this last week. It can be fixed. Like,
it can be
there. You shore up some of the penalties. Yeah, I don't know. Like Gabe. Well, let's look at some of the stat. One of the things you wanted to discuss regarding this offense, and we kind of got an early sidetrack talking about Jeff Sims, is that Nebraska is lacking on the offensive side of guys who can stand out.
Yeah, we have no playmakers really I mean, Gabe Irvin's a nice running back, but when you look at the receiving core, Alex Bullock, Thomas Fedoni, Nate Berkacher, Billy Kemp, all those guys, Marcus Washington, they're not exactly what we need. They are not gonna put fear into Big Ten defenses. They are not going to put fear into any coverages, any defensive coordinators. We are not pretty pedestrian. We are flat out bad on offense.
One-dimensional,
and we don't even do that all that well.
I want to talk about, they definitely did run Gabe more. He had 7 carries last week. He had 7 carries in the first 10 minutes of the game. Ended up with 17 carries for 74 yards. Jeff Sims, of course, had the big carry, which went for the touchdown. Ramir Johnson got a few more touches than last week. You mentioned Anthony Grant
on a
milk carton this week, couldn't be found. And depending on the Husker fan, they might be fine with that. I don't know. You gotta at least give the kid a shot. I give the man a shot to see if he's going to do something different when you're struggling and you can't pass consistently. You at least have to. I don't know. Run Gabe Ervin as much as you can, but provide some different looks here and there. That's I don't know. I would not have been upset if we saw Anthony Grant come in a few times today.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's accountability. I get the accountability standpoint, but other guys are making a shit ton of mistakes, and they're being allowed to play through them.
Yeah.
And so, that leads to the next point that I want to talk about, with maybe, we backed the wrong horse at the quarterback position, and maybe Casey Thompson shouldn't have been so quick to be pushed out the door. That what are his stats from FAU? You said you were going to pull those up.
So ESPN hasn't updated stats from today, but in the win last week against, I believe, Monmouth, he was 20 for 25 for 280 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. The longest pass was 72 yards. Let's remember that
it's Monmouth.
It's Monmouth. We remember so many of his key passes last year because he was thrown to Trey Palmer.
Yep.
And Trey Palmer did a lot of that work.
Well, and I mean, that gets into also some other things where, hey, say Mickey Joseph doesn't get himself in a little bit of hot water there at the end of November. Is he retained by rule, which I think was the direction that it was heading. If he's retained, is DeColdis Crawford still on the rosters? Omarion Miller still at Nebraska rather than at Colorado? Is Trey Palmer still in Lincoln rather than in the NFL? So there's a lot to be considered there, because you got to think that maybe, just maybe, this offense could have used a few more playmakers from last year that still had some eligibility.
Yeah. Yeah. And, as you talk about that very thin, maybe not, I mean, like the numbers are there, but the
experience
on that water. The question is, because of Matt Rule's year one rebuild histories at Temple and Baylor, I almost we're 2 games in. I don't want to be like, all right, well, it's going to be a 1-11, but next year it's going to be 9-3. I don't want to, completely embed it. By the way, if it's 1-11, that means we've lost to either Northern Illinois or Louisiana Tech.
Oh no. Oh God.
We can't handle another home loss to Northern Illinois.
I will say, Greg, and just hear me out for a minute.
Okay.
1-11, and that one comes on November the 24th against Iowa.
It'd be a very nice. First of all, if we went 0-11 to that point,
this place you'd have
Husker Nation would be. There will be no
watch.
Is it a home game?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's a home game.
The stadium would be fucking empty.
I don't know. Have you met this fan base?
I feel like 0-11. I'd like there's a line.
That ain't rock bottom. I don't know what is.
There's a line. I don't know where it is, but I feel like 0-11 crosses that line.
That brings up a point that I remember I wanted to say this 5 years ago I think I actually did say it 5 years ago when we lost to Troy at home. And it's a line from, and I'm going to look up the lyrics because I don't want to butcher this, but if anyone knows the band, the Drive-By Truckers, it's one of their songs, Gravity's Gone. I cannot type for whatever reason.
I'm gonna when I'm stumbling through the fog. I went stumbling through the fog trying to find a reason for the things I told her. She woke up sunny side down, and I was thinking, I was too proud to flip her over.
It's the so I'll meet you at the bottom if there really is one. They always told me when you hit it, you'll know it. But I've been falling so long, it's like gravity's gone, and I'm just floating.
Oh, those are some
little on the nose, eh?
I'm gonna include that video in the post on this for Coronation. When people are listening to this, go find the article on coronation.com and listen to The Drive by Truckers. I'm sorry, Gravity's Gone. So.
Because I remember I discovered that song around the time we lost to Troy, and like I was listening to it when I was lifting weights, and I was like, yeah, that describes Nebraska football really well. Well, lo and behold, 5 years later, we're still sitting here, and I mean, like, where is rock? Like,
I was going to ask.
No rock bottom.
I was going to ask. Did you ever think after that loss to Troy that there was still so much further we could fall down?
No, it's like we're like the Michael Jordan of ineptitude. Every time we think we've hit the ceiling, we keep on raising the bar.
That's a good and accurate and very saddening line.
Yeah, just oh my gosh, like I'm just frustrated, man. One, it's Colorado. Two, it's Deion Sanders with his fake outrage and manufactured controversies, and it's like, yeah, keep pulling those receipts, Chief. Like, sooner or later somebody will pull your card when they're up 73-0 on Colorado.
Can I, while we're mad, can I just make you and everybody more mad?
Yeah. Go for it.
We joked last year, maybe a year before, that like when the Big 12 has their two go-to institutions leave for the SEC, like they'll be in for World Hurt. They'll be in there with Alabama and they'll be in there with Georgia. And fucking today, Texas beat Alabama by 10.
Isn't that insane?
Like there is no football god. There is no justice in college football when Texas beats Alabama.
And
we lose to Colorado.
I will say this too: the football god, I think of it as like a committee of legendary football figures, who make up the pantheon of the football gods. At this point, like, can you quit going Old Testament on us? Like, seriously, like it's we're in a 7-year drought now from a bowl game. We've had plagues of injuries. We've had weather cancel games. I mean, at this point, it's almost it does feel almost biblical. This sort of thing.
I want to look. What I'm about to say may sound controversial. I want to preface it by saying I don't want anything bad to happen to him. But in that scenario where, like there are college football legends in the sky playing cards and making all of these decisions, Tom Osborne would really be on our side when he got there.
Yeah, maybe Bob Devaney had a falling out with everybody up there. Maybe he hit on somebody's wife or girlfriend that he shouldn't have.
I got to preface. I'm not saying that I want anything bad to happen to Tom Osborne.
Gotcha. But I mean, it's.
But in this crazy concocted scenario, we know we'd have an ally in Dr. Tom.
This whole talk of rock bottom, and like it keeps getting worse and worse somehow. It's like. And then here comes, Deion Sanders goes from he already has them at 2 wins, and they're outperforming. Like, is TCU very good? No. Are we very good? No. But they're outperforming. They're beating teams they should beat, And so it's really frustrating to see other teams have quicker turnarounds than what we are capable of. It's just for whatever reason, we just can't stop stepping on our own dick.
We have been in turnaround mode since Bo Pelini got fired.
I'd say we've been in turnaround mode since 2003.
Well, to a point,
I do agree with you though, because looking back at Bo Pelini, it's like, wow, we had it pretty good.
9 and 10 wins.
I'd take it.
All right, let me ask you this. I don't even want to fathom the question I'm about to ask, but I'm going to ask it. Would you suffer a 2-10 season this year to go 10-2 next year?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
at this point.
What's another losing record?
Yeah. I mean, it's just if we got to tear this thing down to the studs and rip out the foundation and pour a new one, okay. Like we're already 2 weeks in, we have a pretty good idea of who we are. And a lot of improvement generally doesn't occur in season. Improvement is something that occurs in the off season and then is just showed in season. So
I'm really hoping.
I think 4-8 would be a minor miracle.
I'm really hoping that Nebraska can use Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech. I would say Louisiana because we got Popeyes restaurants, and the commercials in Louisiana, whatever. So I would say Louisiana instead of Louisiana. I apologize. But if we can at least, I hate to say it, but win those games, get some confidence. You go up against Michigan, you take that with a grain of salt for what it is, but at least after you turn the page for Michigan, you start building into something. You take your lumps early to come out, shining on the other side. We use forge in fire and iron sharpens iron, but by God, you put enough pressure on some coal, you might get something shiny at the end of it.
Diamond.
So we've talked a little bit about the playmakers or lack thereof. If the season continues the way it's going, I'd almost say someone like Malachi Coleman, just keep the red shirt on him. Don't even let him see the field this year. We've talked a little bit about you. I hate to, and again, we've had this conversation in the past too with other quarterback rooms is when the starter is struggling, like when Adrian Martinez was having a rough stretch, but he was still out there because he's still the best option, then that means that we need to get some of these other guys developed quickly. That was actually kind of nice to see Heinrich Harburg in there under center. And I wish that they would have pronounced Kearney correctly.
Kearney.
Which
let's just face it, Gus Johnson is not a good announcer. He might be the most overrated announcer in all of college football.
Who was it? In the first quarter, I think when Bo Ricker caught a pass. Tight end Bo Ricker. I was like, and to his credit, Joel Klatt. Next time I was like Borkature. I was like,
yeah. Well, thanks. I noticed that Klatt really carries that broadcast, and he very gently corrects Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
So, it was good to see Harburg. I think that there needs to be an open quarterback competition heading into the next week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
the next week, and we got this high ankle sprain for Jeff Sims too, so we really don't know what that's going to look like.
So I think it's a good time to really reevaluating where we're at, and I think that can be from a schematic standpoint too.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of the bunch sets that we run. I've always been a big fan of the stress that puts on a defense, but I think that right now we probably need to look at how we're going to create space for our offense, give it room to operate, and so we probably need to really look at adopting more of a spread option philosophy, something similar to like what we look like in 2014 under Tim Beck. But I mean, Amir Abdullah ain't walking through that door. At this point, I'd Tommy Armstrong too. I can't believe I'm saying that right now. But
give me Jordan Westerkamp too while we're at it.
Kenny Bell.
Yeah. Oh.
I think we need to
Jamal Turner.
We need to really reevaluate some things on a wholesale level, and that includes on the offensive line. I like Ben Scott. I like Noli. I like Ben Hart. It's that left side that's really problematic. The fact that we have so many problems just protecting the A gaps too on that left side, A and B gap pressure between the left guard and center and left guard and left tackle. That's something that really needs to be addressed because we're hampering ourselves from even getting the offense off the ground when we're giving up pressures really easily like that. From a schematic standpoint, I like the schemes that we run for the most part. I just think we need to do them out of different formations and change the personnel. So, and I think the play calling, the sequencing could be a bit better as well. But those are things where you hope that it improves as time goes on throughout the season. But again, once we're in season, your personnel choices are pretty limited. There's no signing somebody off the waivers or the practice squad. It's who you got is who you got.
Yep.
So,
that's your dancing partner, so to speak.
Yeah.
I almost made a critical error because I was going to say, when's the last time a Nebraska quarterback threw a touchdown pass to a Nebraska receiver? But then I was like, oh, Thomas Fidoni's from Iowa. But
it just never ends.
You just can't catch a break. Carter Nelson, get here soon, man.
One thing that I've noticed is, and it's just kind of interesting, Sims wears the number 7, Frost wore 7. Sims throws the football the same exact way Scott Frost did. Ball knows the football pointed down, just a very odd trajectory the way that comes out. And you're not going to be very accurate when that happens.
You know who else wore number 7?
Eric Crouch.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh, God. You ever see the movie Zack and Mary Make a Porno?
Yes. It's been years, but yes.
The drunk guy in the coffee shop.
Refresh my memory.
Football. Roethlisberger's all like, look it, check it. Maybe if you include the clip in the article.
I'll throw the clip in for the benefit of the viewers at home.
Yeah, I don't know why. I hate the Steelers. I like Big Ben, but I hate the Steelers. You know that you're in my top 3 of all-time hated NFL teams, Greg.
It's a good thing I'm in your top 1 of all-time favorite Husker team or college football team. So,
yeah, it goes Denver, Green Bay, Pittsburgh.
Not like L.A. I'm sorry, not L.A. The Raiders.
No, I really don't have the Raiders have been so hapless for most of my life that I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever.
All right.
But I despise the Broncos. Broncos fans have a lot of the same energy as Iowa fans.
You know who I despise? I almost made
Joe
this.
Burrow. Joe Burrow.
I was going to say the New England Patriots.
Bill Belichick.
Tom Brady.
Personal hero of mine, Bill Belichick.
Then I saw a clip while we're talking pro names and whatnot. The Manning cast auditions.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
So obviously, the Manning cast, Peyton and Eli for Monday Night Football. And I think it was like Jared Goff or somebody comes in. He's like, yeah, I'm a quarterback. Oh, we like quarterbacks, and they're going through, he's like, this entire audition list. And then somebody calls in. They're like, no, we don't. Sorry, we can't. We're all full. And they go somewhere. It was Tom Brady calling it. He's like, well, they turned me down. I guess I'll go play football some more. Yeah, I didn't do it justice, but folks, YouTube that one.
I haven't seen that one yet.
We're going to end the show on a positive note. We're going to talk about that defense.
Yes, we are.
That defense that disrupted Shadir Sanders for 8 sacks. Couldn't really force him into any mistakes. But wait, we joked on the 5 last week.
Last time we had 8 sacks in a game was 2009 against Texas in the Big 12 championship game.
And I think Ndamukong Suh had 7 of those.
Yep. Thereabouts. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
But now we get beat 36-14, even though we have 8 sacks. It's just
good pressure.
Good pressure, great coverage. They were really well coached. You can tell that the defense is really well coached. The position coaches have gotten their guys to really buy in, and the technique is really good. The defensive play calls and their adjustments and their audibles and their automatic front and coverage calls that they change to based on what the offense is doing. You can see that they're all really dialed in because there's not a lot of gaps in the defense, that an offense can expose. But when you have an offense that keeps turning the football over, any good defense is finally going to kind of break. They're going to break down and they're going to start giving up plays. So, this defense is good enough to win championships. This offense is bad enough to go 2-10.
Yeah. Let's break down some of these numbers here real quick. Isaac Gifford had 8 tackles that led the team. Luke Reimer had 4 tackles, 4 solo, 1 assist for 5. He also had 1 1/2 sacks. Nick Henrich had 2 sacks. Jamari Butler had a sack.
Jamari Butler looked really good.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. Almost. Gosh, I'd have kicked myself in the nuts if I overlooked Cameron Lenhart and his dynamite. Look, he only had 3 tackles, but 2 of them were sacks for 9 yards, and he was disruptive. And then you had Taman Lynham a sack for a 12-yard loss. Riley Van Poppel had half a sack. He was in there with the one with Reimer. I mean,
it's good to see a lot of those guys, especially young guys, already getting quality reps. And Cameron Lenhart, he looks like a guy who could easily end up as a freshman All-American.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's playing at that high of a level.
Built very well. 8 sacks for 65 yards, a total of 11 tackles for loss for 71 yards, and a fumble that was recovered. Just couldn't.
With defensive numbers like that, you'd think that we won the game.
You would, right? I mean, by contrast, Nebraska was sacked twice. Yep. I think that the thing is that it's so damn frustrating to always feel like you're this close, you know,
this close, and yet it's like we're playing with one hand tied behind our backs at all times.
I'm afraid, honestly. Honest to God, I'm afraid that Iowa game is going to end in a 2-2 tie at this point.
No, a 2-1 victory, the 1-point safety that exists. There is a 1-point safety out there.
Hold on. I'm looking this up. I've never heard of this. Or at least if I do, it's 1.6 when a team trying to score a 2-point conversion or PAT turns the ball over, defense takes the ball out of the end zone. That would be very difficult to do. Haas, don't do that to me.
No, thank God. You know, I'm going to say this, and maybe putting it out there in the world will ensure that it doesn't happen just because it's so absurd. I've always said that we invent more ways to lose than Steven Spielberg writes movies. This would
he directs them. I don't know if he really
directs them. You know, I'm not a movie nerd. The 1-point safety, I'm proud to say that we have not found a way to lose a game on a 1-point safety.
Knock on wood. There's still 10 more games left this year.
Knock on wood, because at this rate, it would not shock me if that happened. It really would not.
I just, I'm still the eternal optimist. I know this thing is going to get turned around, but I'm also finding that I'm just very impatient because,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, as we've established before, like I was not following college football in the 90s. So I've never known, I've known successful Nebraska teams, but I've never known a upper echelon, top tier Nebraska football program. And like, as we were talking before we started rolling, or before we started recording, is like, I'm old and I'm not old. I'm far more out of shape for my age than I ought be. And I don't know how many years I have left in me, Haas. And I just want to see Nebraska win it all again before I kick the bucket.
I thought the same thing where I'm like, man, I've been following this program as a diehard fan since I was 11. Mm-hmm. I'll be 33 in November, and I'm like, come on. Like, am I ever going to see the kind of year that I want to see out of this team? Because here's the deal. I'm starting to also be like, like at some point you're reeling in the years. You don't know what happens, like I'm not planning on leaving anytime soon, departing this mortal coil anytime soon. But at the same time, like you never know.
I want to put this out there. This is going to make some people mad. So is that right? No, that's not right. Okay. If it doesn't work in Nebraska, Wyoming's right there, and they're 2-0.
Craig Bowl.
I mean, they got a challenge because they're going to Texas next week.
Oh.
But imagine if Wyoming beat Texas in Texas. The week after Texas beat Alabama.
Are you saying that you're going to start rooting for Wyoming?
I'm just saying I've never been to Laramie, but by all accounts, it looks like a very beautiful.
Do you need to buy you a cowboy hat?
No, I don't. You see that? Hold on, let me see if I can do this right. That's the last hat that I bought, and I don't even wear it.
Looks like a Chiefs hat from here.
It's not. It is a Letterkenny Irish hat.
Oh.
From the show Letterkenny. If you have Hulu, you would really enjoy Letterkenny, Hoss.
I've heard of it.
It's
vaguely familiar with it.
It is. It's rural, but it's smart rural. Really good writing. I think you really get a kick out of it, especially if you pretend that the hockey players are football players. You'd be like, oh, okay, no, that will make sense now.
You knew that you had to go that route to really.
I'm trying to set the hook, man.
All right, fair enough.
But it's on Hulu. It's a fun Canadian show. That's also quite vulgar and full of four-letter words. I'll say this, Hoss. This was, and maybe
we're just old hat at this anymore.
Maybe I'm to blame. This is the second game this season, second week in a row where I started the game late, and both for work-related reasons.
Get the fuck together, Mahachko.
You know what's funny is at least the Northern Illinois game's a PM kickoff. I'll be home for that one. I know I'm going to be tape delayed on Michigan.
Find a way. Okay.
I'll do my best, boss.
Losers make excuses. Winners find a way.
Okay.
Hear you out.
Shit. Now it's all on me.
Yeah.
All right.
It is all on
you. You know what though? That's this line here, right? That we're going to talk about is accountability.
Accountability.
So I'll take this one for the team. I had really, man, I as much as I wanted to beat Wisconsin and start the season 1-0 and 1-0 in the division, 1-0 in the Big Ten, I really wanted to beat Colorado just because Colorado. It's a beautiful state, but I could do without all the people.
I almost feel like Colorado, since we started playing them in 2018, they approached this game with they're our rival. They still hate us the same way that they have always hated us. The loyal opposition. You almost have to tip your hat to them, in a sense. They are who they say they are. But on our side, we are great rivalry, great memories of when we were good. We just don't embrace the rivalry aspect. Just fucking embrace the fact that we fucking hate somebody, okay? Yeah. We've done it with Iowa, and it feels pretty good. Iowa hate week's a fun thing, okay? There's still old folks out there that are like, oh, no, Iowa's not a rivalry. Or Colorado's not a rivalry. The fuck they are. They hate you, you hate them.
Right.
They beat you a couple times. We've historically owned them. It's it's a rivalry. Congrats. It doesn't need to be, the Hall of Champions, Nebraska, Oklahoma, mutual respect, which is largely a narrative that OU started pumping when we were just kicking their ass in the 90s, So.
I'm about to take the approach that
you're going to be an equal opportunity asshole.
Yes.
You're going to hate everybody equally.
Whoever's on the schedule that week, they're our rival. They're my bitter enemy. They're my nemesis.
Can we make shirts for the 5 Heart that say EOMF, equal opportunity motherfucker?
I'll talk to John. I'll see what we can work up.
I'm sure John would love a shirt like that.
By the way, if you're watching this or listening and you were like, hey, wait a minute, I do like supporting Corn Nation and everything, go to copycorn.com. You can still use the promo code BEATCU23 for 12% off. No. You have until today, essentially, because the deadline for that is September 10th. But we'll get you a new promo code in a few days. And
Can I ask why it was only 12% off?
2012, the last time we beat them? No, I have no idea.
Oh.
That's a John thing. I don't know anything.
John, some arbitrary number.
And while we're at it, other tickers that I can throw up here is I've been told to pump the fact that there's a Corn Nation Discord group, and we want you to be part of the community. And click the link in the video description, although I don't have that link, so that was kind of a moot point. And last but not least, it's only one game. Right, Hoss?
Yeah, but
or is that from
way. Best time? This is going to be intentionally vague. Best time to plant a tree for shade was 20 years ago. Second best time to do it's right now.
Let me pull some of my current industry jargon or lingo in. Best time to buy life insurance was 20 years ago. Second best time is right now. And I'll tell you why. Because you know your health today, but you don't know what tomorrow may bring. You could walk off a curb and get hit by a bus tomorrow, buddy. I hope you have some life insurance.
Isn't that poetic that we're talking about this while we're talking about how many years you got left for Husker football?
Well, I joke. So I'm 41. And 5 years ago when I turned 36, my favorite two-digit number, you can thank Jerome.
I wonder why.
Would you like to put that out there?
Jerome Bettis.
The
bus.
Come on, man. You know, he's big guy's got to get love too. Anyway, when I turned 36, I told my wife, I was like, I want to go skydiving for my 36th birthday. She's like, hell no. She said, you have a child now? You know, we'd been married for, at that point, 10 years. She's like, no. I said, okay. Last year I brought it up again when I was turning 40. And she's like, just make sure your life insurance is paid up. So, but, it talk to well, I'm not going to get into that. Nebraska, Colorado, 2023 is in the books. Good news is we get to do it all again next year, Hoss.
You know what? We need to get your ass to Lincoln for that one next year.
All right.
Let's see what day that's on, okay? Shall we?
Is it out yet?
2024 Nebraska. Saturday, September 7th, Colorado.
You know what? I can do that.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? Tell John that we're going to use the Corn Nation expense account for buying a couple of great tickets off of StubHub. We'll get you on the SB Nation private jet.
Let's pump the brakes on that. I'll happily drive.
We'll get you on a Greyhound. All right. We'll get you on the Greyhound that leaves Macomb at 10 a.m.
You're shit out of luck. That would be fantastic.
The Greyhound, yeah.
I don't know about the Greyhound, but I mean, just to get to Lincoln. I'm still trying to kick around the idea, although I'm starting to wonder if there's something wrong with me mentally of trying to go see Nebraska, Illinois, that Friday night game in October.
You should go and you should make a sign that calls out Brett Bielema for doing something ridiculous.
They might not want me in the stadium with that sign.
Brett Bielema eats at Denny's.
Denny's is the worst, dude.
You know what a liminal space is?
Mm-mm.
It's a place that you'll be there, but you don't stay there. Airport's a liminal space.
Oh, okay.
You spend time there, but you're not there permanently. You're just passing through. Truck stops are liminal spaces.
Yep, gotcha.
Denny's is a liminal space. You want to know why? Nobody sets out to go to Denny's. Nobody wakes up on Sunday morning, turns to their wife or girlfriend and says, honey, let's go to Denny's after church. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you just end up there.
Right.
You just fortune either works
favors the cheap.
Yeah. And it's just like your van, your truck had a blowout on the interstate on a road trip. You're waiting at a Denny's for the tow truck to show up, Yeah, it's a liminal space. So, yeah, I think it would just be Brett Bielema eats at Denny's.
I like it. I like it.
He'd probably get super offended because Brett Bielema.
Yeah, so would his wife. And you know what? They look at me like, you look like you eat it, Denny. Still like, yeah, fuck you. I don't make that much money. All right.
That's
So,
good.
so we ended the show on a bit of a positive. We talked about the defense a little bit. Ty Robinson was impactful. I mean, like the front seven were chasing Sanders around. The defensive. Here's the thing: they had so many, I think, broken plays. Colorado did that. The Nebraska secondary did a great job initially, but when Sanders started trying to make something happen and extend those plays, that's I think where Colorado found more of their success. This is going to sound bad, probably. Travis Hunter didn't impress me nearly as much as the Weaver kid.
Yeah, Xavier Weaver is good.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter, I think he just kind of gets he plays both ways like Deion Sanders did, kind of thing.
Yippee.
I did like the fact that we really limited sorry, I'm trying to write something down for future reference at the same time for the next week's podcast.
Oh, crap.
I like the fact that we limited Dylan Edwards, their running back.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest concern heading into the week. And so I think that there's a lot of bright spots on that defense, obviously, at all three levels. The only spot that I have a little bit of reservations about is the safety spots, just because we're a little bit young and inexperienced there. Deshaun Singleton's kind of a first year, seeing his first extended action.
Sure.
And I'll be really excited when we get Marquez Buford back, off of his knee injury. This defense is good enough to keep us in every game. It's just, does the offense want to show up to the party at some point?
Right. Well,
because that's the one thing that's going to continually hamper this team. And you just have to hope that the offense can figure it out, because at some point, instead of an in-game, the defense finally kind of gives up because, they're not getting any support from the offense.
Mm-hmm.
You worry also at some point this season if it turns into an issue where they give up in general. Game
demoralization.
Yeah. Just morale so low that there's like, what's the point anymore?
No, that's a good point. And like you said earlier, the defense is good enough to carry this team to a 8-9 win season, but the offense is just bad enough that it could be a 2-win season.
Yep.
So finding that middle area, I tell you, you find that middle area, you're still probably going bowling. You go 6-6, 7-5, something like that. Maybe you limp in at 5-7. At this point, I think Matt Rule would be smart enough to do what Scott Frost did not, and that's take the bowl game, take the practices.
Yep.
You have to get better. These guys, most of them, fairly young and inexperienced. They need the reps. Take the bowl game. Take the take the trip. Like you earned it. Like I'm all for.
Especially those seniors that have been through hell.
These seniors, you think of, have they earned it on the field? Maybe not. But man, have they earned it through pain and suffering? Yep. I'd say so.
We all have.
Oh my God. So that'll probably do it for this week, right? I mean, did you have anything else that you wanted?
No, we covered most of what I think we set out to cover. And I think if we stay on any longer, it'll go from a heated but civilized discussion about everything to, uncivilized. So,
and we don't want that.
No, we gotta at least, act a little professional here on this podcast.
We got to save some of it for the 5 Heart Show.
Yeah. For John.
You got to save some for John. So, Haas, always great catching up with you. Next week, we'll be doing it after a W.
Lord willing.
Yeah, I mean, just think about this. The last time Northern Illinois came into Lincoln was 2007. Yeah, 17.
Oh, we played them again in 19.
Did we?
Yeah. And we won. Yeah.
Man, my memory's so bad. I'm glad you got a good one.
17. Woof.
17, we lost an athletic director that day.
I don't want to lose Trev on that one.
No. So keep your fingers crossed, and and I don't know what I was going to say.
Keep your powder dry.
And we will see you next week for another Corn Nation overreaction here on YouTube on your podcast channels. This guy over here is Hoss Reuter. I'm Greg Mahochko. Till next time, go Big Red.
Win the damn game.